Hi there, I'm Haruka. In this post-moe world of anime, it's hard for any anime girl to stand out from another. Hell, I'm just a knockoff human version of Korone. But I'm here to give you a girl that stands apart from all the rest. Truly standing apart from all the rest, like she is so incredibly different from every other anime girl you've met. She is an inspiration, an aspiration, and is a sensation that should be sweeping the nation. What the fuck am I saying? Minare Koda from Namiyokite Kure is the best woman in all of recent anime. I said woman, not girl, because she's a grown-ass adult human being, and I'll explain that later. First, I should explain the plot of Namiyokite Kure. Minare is 26 and working as a waitress at a curry place in Sapporo. She gets drunk one night and rants about her ex to some dude at a bar. Turns out that dude is a producer at a radio station, and he was recording the whole time and somehow got her to drunkenly sign a waiver to let him air her rant. So he does, and she crashes the show to stop it from playing on the air, and that's supposed to be that after she gives a weird improvised, long-winded explanation about why she said all of that. But he decides that he liked her improvised, long-winded explanation so much that he gives her own radio show. She's placed on the graveyard shift, essentially, and starts her adventure in the radio world. The show itself is less driven by plot and things happening, and more driven by Koda's commanding presence and a reaction to things around her. She deals with trying to maintain her job at the curry shop because that's her only real source of income still. She tries to find more material for her show, dealing with strange people in the process, and she even has to reconnect with her ex. First of all, let me get into what makes a traditional waifu, like all the traditional characteristics. Visually, they have to look the part. Short with distinctive and colorful hair, they contrast the much more dull extras. There's also a very specific visual style designed to be cute. Big eyes, small mouth, invisible nose, you can kind of see that here. Then you got their personality to others. Unless you've got a tsundere, they're usually pleasant people. They stay quiet a lot of the time. There's this concept in the culture of a quiet beauty, which seems problematic, but whatever. Importantly, even if they're a tsundere, they're usually fairly soft-spoken to anyone not important to the story. They don't really voice thoughts unless it's a big plot moment where they need to have thoughts. Then there's their personality to the love interest. Again, tsunderes are weird, but usually they're caring and compassionate people to their love interest, obviously. The key thing is talking about them being their true selves around their love interest. This will come into play later. I'll talk about this later. Then there's the relationship to other characters. I mean, these waifus aren't usually main characters. They're defined in the story as the love interest for someone, or even as someone's friend. I mean, there's definitely like classic waifus that aren't even like the main love interest. Seriously, it's hard to find a girl in the classic waifu role that holds the center of attention in the show. We're usually following the boy who's trying to get with them, or even more, as previously mentioned, we're following the boy who's trying to get with her friend because she's pushed that far into the side of the actual plot. So let's talk about how Minare subverts and enhances these characteristics. She's not exactly the prettiest girl out here. Minare has a nose, like a very distinct nose, and there are not many major women in anime who got a nose like that. I mean, just look at that honker in the manga. Damn. The artist himself, Hiroaki Samura, is specifically known for his realistic art and a lot of horror-esque seinen stuff. He said himself that he made Namiyokite Kure to stop drawing torture porn, but that mature art style still carries over into the way Minare looks, with her realistic proportions that I can only describe as sturdy. She doesn't have a super skinny waist, she's just built like a person. And then she's loud and outspoken to the world. She literally starts the story complaining to some dude she doesn't know in a bar. She's loud, brash, and witty while doing it. Maybe this is more on the voice actress Riho Sugiyama giving her the perfect tone, but she is so different from any character I've heard. She's constantly talking to herself, arguing with people, and generally yelling about things. She always has something to say. But most interestingly, she has a weird reaction to her love interest. When faced with Mitsuo, her ex, she bottles up all of that fire and struggles to give him that same treatment, to the point that it's actually to her detriment until she finally boils over and KOs him. But taking the traditional view of a waifu with their love interest, she is absolutely not her true self around Mitsuo. Her truest self is when she's hanging out with Mitsuho or Chuya. And lastly, she's defined by so much more than relationships. She is the main character. Is that so hard to do? Yeah, there's other shows where a girl is the main character, but so many of them are driven forward by a love story. Despite Samura Sensei's best intentions, he did not write a love story. He had the intent to write a love story involving radio, but he didn't. He wrote the story of a woman finding empowerment through her voice, and that's so much cooler. And while romance does play a bit of a role in the show and the manga, I disagree with any romance tag on it. Unless they're talking about Minare and Mitsuho, which then, yes, I do believe that Minare would marry Mitsuho if she ever asked. That girl is wife material right there. Here's why this all matters. She is possibly the most realistic depiction of a grown-ass woman in all of anime, although that may be due to her being a Dosanko woman. Dosanko is the slang term for people from Hokkaido. I'm not an expert, but based on the vibe I get from its portrayal, Hokkaido is the region of Japan that is the most Midwestern. And by Midwestern, I mean American Midwest, where you have a culture of friendliness, but also a bit rowdy. Basically, it seems like the reason she, as a character, feels much more real to me is because she's a louder and more relatable person to me. As someone from the Midwest, she feels sort of like a person that I'd know. Anyway, even past the personality, everything about her is just a normal adult thing. She looks like a real person thanks to that mature art style. She's struggling to keep a job down. She's struggling with maintaining real adult friendships and relationships. And many of the basic things she does, despite maybe being a bit over the top, seem perfectly reasonable when considering some certain over the top situations she finds herself in. And one of the biggest things to me, she makes a female character relatable to anyone. Like, I am nothing like this woman, yet I relate to her, and that's important. Too often, anime is focused on high school for very understandable and kind of depressing reasons, but even when they step out of the realm of high school, it's still a bit glorified. The simplest of Minare's struggles just feel relatable in such a basic way to people around her age. Again, her realism is just comforting. Minare isn't an ideal, she's just a person, and it's refreshing to see a person instead of an ideal. I'm kind of talking in circles at this point, but please take this as a sign to watch Namio Kite Kure. It's got an amazing ED, it's one of the biggest sleepers in the past few years that didn't actually blow up. It's not quite an odd taxi, but it's just a quality piece of viewing for a more mature audience. Except when I say mature, I don't mean sexy mature, I mean tax-paying mature. This video is actually sponsored by Lucky Cat Sticker Company. Go buy some damn stickers. Slap them on your laptop, slap them on your car, slap them on your own face. I don't care. Go to luckycatsclub.com and enter the code JOCK for 15% off. That's JOCK JOCK for 15% off at luckycatsclub.com. Link in the description. Thank you.